What's going on, everybody? Good morning, and welcome back to another episode of Seahawks Now, the home for all things breaking news, rumors, and updates about your Seattle Seahawks. Before we begin, if you like what you see, make sure you give that like button a hit and subscribe to the channel if you want to see all the latest breaking news, updates, rumors, and just all of my personal opinions about this team. Guys, there's a lot to talk about. It's the off season, rookie minicamp camp is underway, and the Seahawks, I think they should be targeting one more player in the offseason. Look, we've had a great offseason so far. We've obviously upgraded at quarterback. We've upgraded, I think, we'll not maybe not upgraded at wide receiver, but we've successfully replaced DK Metcalf. We had a really good draft, but there's still room to improve. There's always room to improve. And when a guy like Trey Hendrickson is being rumored to be potentially on the trade block, you have to give him a call. So the big story right now, Trey Hendrickson with the Bengals, he's been upset about the contract negotiations. Clearly things are not going well in Cincinnati. Look, Trey Hendrickson, he thinks he deserves to get paid. He wants to get paid what he believes he is worth. But apparently the Bengals are no longer talking with him about this contract extension that he's asking for because he's asking for something that's out of their price range. He said there's been no communication between his camp and the organization since the draft in April. He said the Bengals did not reflect the vision that they shared and that they promised if he continued to play at a high level. Discussions toward the new deal have stalled. He says rather than using collaboration to get us to a point to bring me home, they are no longer communicating. He says he has been eagerly awaiting a resolution, but that's hard to do and there's no discussion and an evident lack of interest in reaching mutual goals. Now, obviously, Trey Hendrickson is a guy who has kind of taken the short end of the stick with the Bengals because the Bengals, despite him being maybe their best player, I mean, last year he led the league with 17 and a half sacks. He was an All-Pro, first-team All-Pro, the Bengals' first-team All-Pro, by the way, since 2015. He's been the Pro Bowler for 4 straight years. In 2023, he got a 1-year extension. So right now, he currently has 1 year left of his deal. He actually requested a trade after the team decided not to give him a full new contract, but he ended up reporting for voluntary workouts, and he did play. Why I say he's got the short end of the stick is because the Bengals clearly went into this offseason with a focus on their offense, right? They paid Jamar Chase, who was their other All-Pro. He got $161 million this offseason, highest and paid non-quarterback in the NFL, right? They also paid T. Higgins, who, he's a good receiver. He's a really good for a wide receiver too, but certainly not a superstar. But they paid him because they really wanted to give Joe Burrow those weapons. They wanted to make him happy. On the other side of things, the Bengals are now saying, well, we're out of money. We can't afford to give a third big contract to you, Trey Hendrickson. And so that is, I think, what's making him upset. So here's what I say. He's asked for a trade before, didn't get it that time, but maybe he gets it this time. He is 30. He's going to be 31 next year, so he's kind of getting up there in age, but he's coming off of an elite season. And a player, I mean, if he could even get 10 or 12 sacks, he doesn't have to get 17 sacks. If he can have a 10-sack season, he's an instant game changer on the Seahawks defensive line. I think Seattle should call. Look, it would only be for 1 year because he wouldn't have that next contract yet, and then you could be that team that gives him the contract extension instead of Cincinnati, if that's something that the Seahawks are interested in. We know that Mike McDonald loves having a great pass rush. That's what he was known for in Baltimore. Last year, the pass rush was good, but it was not elite. And a guy like Trey Hendrickson would make that pass rush truly elite. So, yeah, I think, if there's any sort of a potential for a trade, the Seahawks should absolutely call. They should be on the phone with the Bengals, but they should also be on the phone with Trey Hendrickson. Because if you can convince him that a trade to the Seahawks might be in his best interest, that's going to speed that process up a lot more than just talking with the Bengals about it. I understand he's expensive. I understand a lot of people are going to say, no, we can't afford to pay another guy. When you're trying to win a Super Bowl, you have to throw that out the window, right? At some point, it's like, look, the salary cap can be manipulated. We did save money this year. We saved money getting rid of DK Metcalf. We saved money getting rid of Geno Smith. Potentially, if Sam Darnold doesn't work out after this year, we might save money moving on from him next year. So we can manipulate the money. There's ways to do it. But a player like Trey Hendrickson doesn't come available very often. He is a game wrecker. He's like Micah Parsons. He's like TJ Watt, Nick Bosa. That's the level he's on. I said before, I hope the Seahawks should trade for TJ Watt. They didn't end up doing that, obviously, but here's your second chance to go out and trade for an elite pass rusher who doesn't seem to be all that happy with the team he's currently on, but maybe he would be happy on an elite defense up in the Northwest in Seattle. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there, guys. All right, but moving off of the Trey Hendrickson rumors, let's talk about the Seahawks. They've made a couple of roster moves. First off, they have signed wide receiver Montori Foster Jr., rookie wide receiver. He was an undrafted free agent. They've also signed another undrafted free agent, De'Eric Jackson. He's a linebacker. Took part. Both of them were at the rookie minicamp earlier this month. De'Eric Jackson, he was a 3-year starter at Kentucky, so it comes from a big SEC school. He started 31 games for them, 6'1", 237 pounds. Last year, he led Kentucky in tackles. In 23, he led Kentucky in tackles. Finished his career with 216 tackles, 17 tackles for a loss, 9 sacks, 5 interceptions, 9 passes defensed, and 1 forced fumble. So pretty much an all-around like a good player. Like, he was able to get some sacks, got some interceptions, defended some passes, got some tackles for a loss. Like a really good kind of linebacker in that sense because he could rush and he could play defense against the pass. So yeah, that's really good to see. Actually, he was all SEC last year. Was named to the SEC Academic Honor Roll 4 straight years. So that's all really good to see. Meanwhile, Montori Foster, 5-year letter winner at Michigan State. He started 28 games for them, coming from the Big Ten. 24 straight starts to finish his career. Finished his college career with 108 receptions for 1,426 yards and 8 touchdowns. So, yeah, I mean, not bad players at all. They both have pretty solid stats for a Big Ten school and for an SEC school. Obviously, Michigan State and Kentucky, they're not the cream of the crop in those leagues, but that means they were playing against pretty good competition and putting up solid numbers. So I'm glad to see that the Seahawks have room for them, at least for now. So obviously, it's a 90-man roster right now. So that roster, chances are they going to make the 54-man roster? Probably not. But they are going to get some time to kind of prove themselves, and maybe they can play their way into a practice squad spot. And unfortunately, to make room for those guys, the Seahawks did have to waive a veteran kick returner, River Craycraft, wide receiver and returner. This one hurts me, former Wazoo grad, so I was rooting for him. If you guys don't know, I'm a big Wazoo guy. So River Craycraft, he will not be with the Seahawks going forward. He was a depth piece, but I thought he could have been good as a kick returner. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. All right, let's talk about one more thing, guys. There's a recent article coming out projecting the 2026 NFL draft, kind of far in the future, a full year. But let's talk about what this means. The Seahawks predicted to draft a successor to a key starter in the way too early mock. Here's who it is. According to Sports Illustrated, the Seahawks are going to need to replace Abe Lucas in this year's draft. Right, Abe Lucas, he's going to be a free agent after this year. He's a right tackle. And the Sports Illustrated does not believe that the Seahawks are going to extend him or re-sign him. They think he's going to be out of there. And here's who they have taking his place, Francis Maugia. Now, I hope I'm saying that right. I'm not sure if I am. I'm not actually very familiar with him, but he's actually a 5-star prospect. Started all 26 games at right tackle since he began playing in 2023. I don't know. Maybe this could be a good choice. He plays for Miami. He's a right tackle. The scouting report is that he's a freak athlete, an exceptional anchor, great hand placement, expected to grow into a star tackle at the next level. I think he's a good player. I think that obviously having to draft another offensive lineman in the first round maybe wouldn't be my favorite because we just did that this year. But if the O-line still needs more help, then that is obviously what you should do. And as we've seen, you can never have too good of an offensive line. I mean, I truly believe that. I think the Seahawks have found that out maybe the hard way in years past when guys get hurt and they realize, man, as much as we thought this was a good line, we could have been even better and probably should have been even better. Feels like that's this conversation almost every year. So, if you have to go out and get another offensive lineman first round next year, then I guess you go ahead and do it. With that all being said, that's going to wrap things up for today. I'll see you guys tomorrow. As always, like, subscribe, comment down below. Who do you think the Seahawks should take in 2026, and what position would you like to see them target? I know it's a year in advance, but it's always fun to think about these things. Think about it with a long-term, future-oriented vision, and yeah, it can be fun to kind of project things way down the road and just see, like, are we going to be right? Who knows? Probably not. But with that all being said, I'll see you guys tomorrow, and until then, as always, go Seahawks.